It's Friday, January 7th. This is The Gateway. I'm Wayne Pratt. A growing number of school districts are doing away with traditional snow days and having students learn from home. It's a trend that has been accelerated by the pandemic.
I think that the pandemic is leading now to schools looking at the school calendar in a very different way and basically looking at learning as something that can take place anytime, anywhere.
St. Louis Public Radio's Kate Grumke will have that report in just a few minutes. The St. Louis Department of Health has updated its isolation guidelines for people who test positive for coronavirus. As St. Louis Public Radio's Chad Davis reports, health officials say the new regulations and expanded test availability should help keep the virus from spreading.
City health officials recommend that people who test positive for the coronavirus isolate themselves for at least 5 days. The health department will make available up to 2,000 PCR tests a day across the city starting next week. People can sign up on the department's website starting Friday afternoon. Dr. Madi Slotswayo Davis is the city's health director. During an appearance on St. Louis on the Air, she said more tests will help people and doctors.
People are now coming to emergency rooms for testing, and that really gets in the way of them being able to take care of really sick people.
The region has seen widespread test shortages as the Omicron variant of the coronavirus surges. For more information on the city's coronavirus guidelines, visit the health department's website. I'm Chad Davis, St. Louis Public Radio.
St. Louis County Executive Sam Page is announcing expanded testing today. The initiative is set to begin next week. The county is dealing with record numbers of COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations. Courts throughout the region are adjusting how they operate following the massive spike in coronavirus cases. Missouri's 22nd Circuit, which covers St. Louis, has suspended jury trials for at least next week, although grand juries and other hearings will continue. The 21st Circuit, that covers St. Louis County, has a 2-week pause for jury trials. In Illinois, St. Clair County will close its traffic and misdemeanor courtrooms for 2 weeks. Starting Monday, cases will be automatically continued. Lingering tensions have returned to the Missouri Senate as lawmakers wrap up the first week of this year's legislative session. St. Louis Public Radio's Sarah Kellogg reports.
As the Missouri Senate looks to pass new congressional redistricting maps, allocate possibly billions of federal dollars to the state's budget, along with passing other laws, continued discontent from some members could pose a challenge for leadership. Senator Mike Moon, a member of the Conservative Caucus, spent over an hour discussing a dispute over a line-item veto back in September. Speaking after the Senate adjourned for the day, Senate President pro tempore Dave Schatz said his goal is to ultimately have a working, functioning Senate.
Hopefully we'll get past the personalities. Obviously, this first thing, come out of the gate. We're getting airing out some dirty laundry at this point in time. There's a point and place for that, too, and sometimes it's not on the Senate floor.
Schatz says his door is always open to any Senate member in order to have an open line of communication. I'm Sarah Kellogg, St. Louis Public Radio.
A Republican in the Missouri House expects the final version of the state's congressional map to be similar to what's currently in place. Lawmakers have to redraw the state's 8 congressional districts. A proposal from Representative Dan Schall of Jefferson County would keep 6 Republican and 2 Democratic districts. Representative Dirk Deaton of McDonald County says something like Schall's proposal may end up going to the governor.
If you look at this map, it looks a lot like the one we've had previously with some, minor modifications, and we probably stick to something more like that, I suppose, just due to people's conservative nature as to, not thinking outside of the box.
Deaton was a guest on Politically Speaking. That episode is posted at stlpr.org. A growing number of school districts are doing away with traditional snow days and planning to have students learn from home instead. St. Louis Public Radio's Kate Grumke reports.
The dark days of winter used to come with a fun upside for some students and teachers. Possible snow days when school is canceled. For Carter Obermark's family, snow days would sound like this. But last year, the 4th grader school district, St. Louis Public Schools, continued virtual learning on days that would have been traditional snow days. And this year, if winter weather makes getting to school impossible, the district is planning to have kids learn from home again.
Then, by the time we're done, it'll probably be dark outside and we won't get to play in the snow.
Carter's mom, Lauren Obermark, is feeling nostalgic about the change.
I don't know why we would make a choice that feels kind of like we're being punished.
As everyone in St. Louis knows, snow here is unpredictable. And the pandemic has made things even less predictable. But this year, at least 4 local districts are planning to learn online rather than take the day off. Many more districts are doing a mix of both. They plan to take some traditional snow days and some online days. This is happening across the country. In a November 2020 survey, almost 40% of school officials said their district had converted snow days to virtual learning days. Dan Dominich, who heads the School Superintendents Association, says this is a growing trend.
The pandemic and the remote learning acceleration and improvement is leading now to schools looking at the school calendar in a very different way and basically looking at learning as something that can take place anytime, anywhere.
Rethinking Spinosaurus.
Deneen Stewart is the Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction in the Rittner School District. She's scrolling through a virtual homeroom with a list of students represented by icons like a horse, a tiger, and a dinosaur.
Yeah, they chose that, so that's engaging the student as well.
Stewart says there's an upside to getting rid of traditional snow days. For instance, students won't have to make up days at the end of the year. Stewart also says that after multiple years of learning losses, students really need to keep up with school.
So it's very important to make sure that every day we use that as an opportunity for learning as much as possible.
And Rittner's superintendent, Chris Kilbride, says with continued pandemic uncertainty, everyone needs to stay familiar with virtual instruction.
We want to make sure that virtual continues to be a part of the vocabulary here in the district.
Christina Urbikar teaches first grade at Marion Elementary in the district and notes that virtual instruction is a lot better now than it was in the early days of the pandemic. She says the virtual snow day schedule they're adopting is shorter and still leaves kids time to play outside. Last year, she even found ways to incorporate snow into virtual class.
We had a virtual snowball fight, and the kids really loved it. So we took paper and we balled it up and we threw it at the screen. So just trying to make sure that it's fun so that the kids are not feeling like they're missing out on something.
Emily Hubbard's 4 children attend St. Louis Public Schools. She understands the pressure to keep learning going, but still laments the potential loss of snow days.
I just think you lose a lot for the teachers, for the families, when you don't get that element of surprise.
Hubbard's son Jonas said virtual learning went fine for him in 5th grade, but he still wasn't happy with this change.
I was sad because I like to play in snow days. But if they're virtual, then you don't get any time to play.
Jonas says if this becomes a permanent shift, he decided he just won't tell younger kids about the fun of snow days, so they don't know what they're missing out on. I'm Kate Grumke, St. Louis Public Radio.
Our Fred Ehrlich edited that report. Shula Newman is the executive editor of St. Louis Public Radio, a listener-supported service of the University of Missouri-St. Louis. Music by Ryan McNeely of Adult Fur. I'm Wayne Pratt. Have a great weekend. This has been The Gateway.
Support comes from Missouri Forest Products Association, committed to sustainable and sound conservation of the state's forests, which support more than 41,000 Missouri jobs, resulting in a $10 billion industry. ChooseWood.com.